Hello friends, I'd like to continue with our study of the synthesis petals according to certain specific energies and how these energies can contribute to the unfolding of these petals, especially the stage of their deliberate unfolding, which occurs between the third and fourth initiation particularly. There is some unfolding before that, we're told, at the time of the first, second, and third initiations, but the real attention to the synthesis petals, or to the factor of synthesis, which makes these petals open, occurs following the third initiation, when the Buddhic vehicle is being coordinated. Now, we had reached the point where we had ended program 61, and in that I gave a little bit of an introduction to the subject. In program 60, we had some foundational references which oriented us to this subject, which is a little bit obscure because not so much is said about it. And now we're beginning with program 62 and dealing with the specific energies of petal 11, the synthetic petal of love it's called, but I would like to call it also the synthetic petal of love wisdom, just as when dealing with the monad, which is said to be will, wisdom, and activity, I think of it as will, love, wisdom, and activity. There are certain laws that continue to operate here, the law of group progress, soul law, and the law of expansive response, I would say. We have not quite entered the point where we are the master of the wisdom, or even the initiate of the fourth degree, not quite. Excuse me, and therefore the human group or soul group number 10 is not yet operative, and the stage of adaptation number 8 is not yet operative. But we are certainly in this rather brief period between the third and fourth initiations, which can take place in one life, two lives, maybe 3 lives, but as DK says, often in the same life, just the way initiation 4 and 5 can take place often in the same life. So, you know, one wonders about the progress of Milarepa, who seemed to move from the second initiation to the fifth, all in one life. Well, that kind of progress, I guess, is not for ordinary mortals, even the ones who are intending to dedicate all they have. It seems extraordinary. Well, with the synthesis of love, synthesis petal of love, and I want to add wisdom. If we proceed in clockwise order in terms of naming the signs of the zodiac, beginning with the first petal at Aries, and counterclockwise order, which is the natural order of the zodiac, then we reach the sign Aquarius. Now, although there is a great mental content in the sign Aquarius, it is also the sign of universal love, and it has a real capacity to synthesize. Perhaps all the hearts activated in higher Leo are brought together under Jupiter, the esoteric ruler of Aquarius, so that we have a kind of universal love of the solar logos. When we use a word like universal, we cannot mean the entire universe. We can't even think in terms really subjectively of the galaxy. We may be able to see images of other galaxies, but if we can't think in terms of the one about whom naught may be said, who is as usually considered, a very minor being in relation to our galaxy. We certainly cannot think of the nature of the galactic entity. The sense of proportion and of co-measurement is so important in these kinds of speculations, and it's here where that so many people go astray. So we have the great sign of group consciousness, Aquarius, bringing in, well, all three of the planets usually veiled on the hierarchical level, namely Vulcan, Neptune, and Uranus. Perhaps the Neptune part has more to do with the love wisdom, and certainly there is a modification of the kind of emotional response often found in Aquarius, which is filled with its hills and valleys, its ups and downs, its peaks and its troughs, as DK describes to us, and a more regular kind of cyclic process occurs within the astral body, which becomes responsive to the plane of universality within the triad, and that would be the Buddhic plane. So we have a force here under Jupiter which brings many people together in the heart, and I would say also touching the heart within the head. And what is this synthesis of love? You know, it's not quite, excuse me, full release into the Buddhic plane after the egoic lotus is destroyed. But it is certainly an anticipation of that, and it's a very wide love, and realizing that that it is possible to love all. Let the disciple search within the heart's deep cave. If there he finds the fire burns bright, warming his brother, yet heating not himself, the hour has come for making application to stand before the door. When love for all beings is beginning to be a realized fact in the heart of the disciple, well, he is ready for initiation. Let me turn to that from Initiation Human and Solar. A realized fact in the heart of the disciple. And when love for himself exists not, then comes the realization or the indication that he's nearing the portal of initiation and may make the necessary preliminary pledges. These are necessitated before the Master hands in his name as a candidate for initiation. I'm talking about this universal, this attitude of universal love. And now, here we are talking about initiation. Is this initiation one? Certainly not fully. It cannot be. It's the real initiation in terms of how the hierarchy views initiation. It is initiation 3. And we are discussing a state or a stage beyond initiation 3. So love for all beings would signify a kind of a Venusian, Jupiterian state characteristic of initiation 3, and the realization that all souls are one, and that one is the soul in which all souls are fused. So this love for all beings, while not perfected, is part of that distributive, universal impulse that we find in Aquarius. I mean, certainly it is a sign of great mental brilliance, no question about that, but we're interested in this love and the wisdom that goes along with it, and how it is extended to the many, and not only to specific objects or persons. One begins to realize that one is the love. You know, if Christ, if Jesus, if Buddha said meaningfully and in terms of identification, I am the light of the world, then we can carry it further, and he would be able to say, meaningfully, and thinking beyond his little microcosm, I am the love of the world. I am the will of the world. Finally, I am the being of the world. I am that which is. Now, these stages of identification, I think, they take a lot of work, and one has to find one's own inner antichironic method to identify in this way. But certainly this, we're talking about the universal love of the developed Aquarian. And then he also says at the same time, the pervasive wisdom of Pisces, of Jupiter in Pisces. So wisdom sometimes is associated with will wisdom, and not only with love wisdom. So here is this great, expansive, embracing, inclusive group consciousness in Aquarius, which comes upon the individual when he realizes that all real love is actually one loving, and it's reflecting the loving of the planetary logos. Well, you know, I'm just intending to drop a few seed ideas here, and naturally you can expand upon these. I'm perhaps not being as careful as I might be, because then I would sit down and laboriously write out every thought, correcting the English minutely and so forth, but I'm choosing a different method. Now, the idea is that between the third and fourth initiations, probably according to our ray, we are focusing on the factor of synthesis, but one of these factors will be the major focus for us. The factor of synthesis in relation to love would be the focus of the second ray soul, or maybe the second ray monad. And if both soul and monad were on the second ray, certainly it would be. And inevitably, because there's such a reflex action going on between these three petals, such an interplay, all three of them will continue to unfold. The innermost group of petals, which normally sort of veils the jewel in the lotus, does suddenly burst open, and that means considerable unfoldment for all of them. Now, looking at a little bit of astrology along with this, when we come to Aries, we have the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. We have the idea of let form again be sought, except the seed falleth into the ground and bring forth fruit, it is of no value. I sort of complete that sentence in my own way. I don't remember the exact quotation, but the idea that Aries, the seed, must sacrifice itself by falling into the lower planes represented by the soil, and become the sacrificial lamb who does this act of sacrifice for the welfare of the world, for the welfare of his fellow human beings, for the welfare of our planet. Aries is usually a sort of a first-ray, seventh-ray sign, and it does not particularly possess the planets of love. Mars is not, though a high and noble idealism can relate to it. Mercury, bringing in the fourth ray, does relate to the second, and is a planet of fusion. And Uranus, well, except for its interesting relationship to the Sirius-Pisces hierarchy line, doesn't have a lot of second ray. And yet there is this plunging into the lower worlds for the sake of sacrifice. And interesting how the sign Aries represents a duality coming out of a unity. So there are some tendencies here to offer oneself in love for the welfare of the whole and for the welfare of the cycle. Now, the color of Taurus, interestingly enough, is said to be deep blue. At least the Tibetan uses that particular color scale in one of his meditations with his group, one of his groups. And Taurus is perhaps a sign more associated with wisdom than it is with love. DK speaks of the average Taurian as not demonstrating a lot of love. Of course, this is not necessarily the case. So many things can modify. But it is the second sign, and it will have a numerical correspondence with the second petal. And especially if we think of love and wisdom and the light of love, the great illumination coming through Taurus, stimulating through light the realization of love. It's the light that brings love into the light. It's a light which reveals love. So Taurus, people who are equipped with the Taurus energy can certainly promote the wisdom aspect, the synthesis of understanding and wisdom, which ends in the tendency of the candidate truly to love. When we come, well, you know, the love of Shambhala, think of that. Taurus is so connected with that. It's a sign particularly connected with Shambhala. There's a great light in Shambhala, no question about it, a greatest light in a way, which Taurus is easily connected with, but also the factor of the love which comes from Shambhala and from the highest example of the teaching ray on our planet, the Sanat Kumara and the great Savior. The light of Taurus certainly assists the growth and manifestation of love, even if it isn't classically one of the signs of love. It is certainly, though, a sign of wisdom. And sometimes wisdom is placed, so to speak, diagrammatically above love, as if it's the intermediary between the will of Shambhala and the love of hierarchy. And the Buddha who comes forth from Shambhala is the great exemplar of Taurus. He's the Lord of light, and also he's the Lord of wisdom. He's not called the Lord of love, that's left for the Christ, but his deep wisdom directly connects with that of the Christ. And so we can expect that this second synthesis petal number 11, will have benefit from Taurus. And think of the relation of Aquarius and Taurus. Aquarius is the hierarchy, and Taurus is the new group of world servers who certainly lead humanity into the light. They are the light bearers. But they are deeply motivated by love, and their sign, as I was saying here, is Taurus. And Ray 4, you know, connected with Ray 2, Taurian Ray 4, is their Ray. So let us say that harmony and love and light, they go together, and Taurus can be useful in promoting this sense of the one love which is spread equally for all, as one loves the soul and loves the spirit. It's not a question of liking and disliking. That's coming into a different category of attraction or repulsion. That's not the unity of love that we are talking about. And Taurus has to do with blue. You know, it's the blue eye in the center of the head which sees all things and all beings in the light of love. So, you know, every sign of the zodiac can be useful here. With Gemini, of course, it was a sign of great knowledge, but think about its relation to the second ray. It's called the head of the cosmic Christ. Its ray is the second, and Jupiter, the great second ray planet, has a particular relationship to it. Mercury is more the orthodox ruler and relates to knowledge, but it has that strong Ray 4 component related to Ray 2. Venus is its esoteric ruler. It has that brilliant light, but at the same time, Venus, a planet of love, wisdom, especially in its highest monadic nature. And then there's the Earth, hierarchically, and we all know that right relations on our planet, right human relations, right relations with all beings, will occur um, only through love and through loving relationship, which Gemini in its higher aspect confers upon us. So, sometimes, well, let's just say that we have assigned the earth signs to the knowledge petals, water signs to love petals, fire signs to the sacrifice petals. We're left with air for the, we're left with air for the synthesis petals. And, Gemini, a major sign of the second aspect, could be assigned to the second petal or to the first synthesis petal. Libra and Gemini have a lot in common, and although Libra is given as related more to Ray 3 and Gemini to Ray 2, there are ways in which they switch. And in some of the later information given on the on the paths of, on the way of higher evolution, the path of higher evolution, Gemini and Libra are exposed in new ways and seen to be even more interrelated. So the question is, if the air signs rule those petals, synthesis petals, shall we begin with Gemini, go to Libra for the second petal, and Aquarius? I don't think there's much question about that. Aquarius has more of the first ray connected with it, I think, than either Gemini or Libra, although Libra does connect with the law in terms of the first ray. But certainly we could begin with Gemini, ruling all the interrelationship of knowledge, and Libra having a very deep ray 2 connected with it, I do believe. When I read page 332, 333 of Esoteric Astrology, divine love and understanding is applied to Libra. So, we can begin with Gemini. It is the third sign, hence related to the third aspect, and deeply related to knowledge and synthesizing knowledge. Then go to Libra for fusion of the pairs of opposites and fusion of the spirit and the soul-infused personality. We might call it the divine marriage. We might say that. It has a lot of Ray 2. And then Aquarius for Ray 1, for the universal mind, for the connection with the Great Bear. We can do it that way. We can also seemingly go in a clockwise manner, starting from Libra, going to Gemini, and then going to Aquarius. I'm not sure whether that is a preferred method, but certainly we can relate Libra with this powerful third aspect to the first synthesis of knowledge petal, and Gemini with its powerful second aspect to the synthesis of love petal. So, okay, then that would be one way to think about Gemini in relation to the bringing together of spirit and soul. Jupiter in Gemini confers that exactly. It has a special relationship. It's usually considered to be in detriment, but in fact it is a method of fusing the spirit with the soul and the soul-infused personality. So Gemini has an important place here, bringing in the Christ spirit very strongly, and a broad and general love which goes out along the many, many lines of relationship which Gemini reveals. Cancer is usually related to the third aspect of divinity, but it has a strong Buddhic connection, and if we think even further, it has a connection with that hierarchy which is destined to reach the cosmic astral plane as soon as it liberates itself from the sea of fire. So that's the Cancerian hierarchy, veiling the Christ. And so the deep third aspect is not so much what we're looking at here as the connection with the fusing nature of love under Neptune, and the relation to that higher correspondence to the solar angels, which I think is the fifth of the liberated hierarchy is really the almost liberated hierarchy. We know that Cancer is not only about intelligence, but is about a close cohesion. And when we use that Cancerian mantra, the whole is seen as one, we can say that in the right attitude of Buddhic love, maybe monadic love involving the higher heart center within the head, and with some infiltration from the Christ force of the cosmic astral plane, maybe we can say that it can have quite a strong, cohesive effect of binding together the many contents of consciousness in a field of unified love, holistic love. When it comes to Leo, it is the fire sign which is most related to consciousness and to the second aspect of the heart, even though the first and fifth rays are transmitted through it. But, Aries is related to that, Leo to the loving soul, and Sagittarius generally to the personality. So this blazing out of the higher self, there's the realization of a unity in heart and soul between all beings, following the third initiation. I am the soul in which all souls are fused. No my soul, thy soul, but the soul. And in the fifth, that comes in the fifth of the rules. The fifth of the rules in rays initiations. Leo's the fifth sign, and the macrocosmic whole is all there is. Let the group perceive that whole and then no longer use the thought, my soul and thine. So there's a fusion of souls occurring here in this synthesis petal of love, and realization that although there are many hearts, there's really one heart. And although there are many diverse types of love, there's only one love, and we're all participating in it. So Leo makes sense there, or at least can contribute to it. Virgo is a powerfully Ray 2 and Ray 6 constellation sign, and hierarchically it's ruled by Jupiter, and it's all about the glory of the Christ consciousness. Now, maybe we have to wait for that supreme glory to emerge, at the fourth degree, perhaps at the fourth degree. But before that happens, there is the sense of the triumphant, transfigured Christ consciousness pervading all of matter. So in service, the service of the immediately present is what Virgo confers. And so even the humblest things are pervaded by this universal synthetic love. Instead of the fragmenting, dividing, diversifying aspect of Virgo, we have it as a sign of fusion, interestingly, and DK does talk about that. With Virgo, it's M, nature, talking about the fusing of the three aspects, and it's a great sign of synthesis. I am the mother and the child. I, God, I, matter, am. So all aspects of divinity are brought together, and certainly the love aspect and the matter aspect are brought together here, and love is seen to pervade all of matter, unifying all of matter, regardless of diversification. And so the Christ force is very strong here when Virgo can help augment the power of the unfolding 11th petal. When it comes to Libra, well, as I said, there is a strong second ray component here. And the spirit of peace is coming in under Libra, great second ray entity, and divine love and wisdom are there. And on one of the paths, not just the first path of higher evolution, but I think maybe the second path as well, Libra comes in. And the law of karma, though very mental and willful, is for the sake of love and harmony. So I suspect that the second aspect of Libra is even more powerful than the third, though a bit latent. We don't know how these constellational lords are developed and unfolded relative to each other. Just as there are sacred and non-sacred planets and synthesizing planets, we may have the same going for the constellational lords. They may be in 3 different strata. So, what ray or rays is DK giving us when he tells us about the rays being transmitted through some of these? When there's only one ray discussed as being transmitted, which ray is that? When the third ray is coming through Libra, and yet we sense deeply the presence of the second ray, and some sense the fourth ray, then which is it? Which is the more important ray? In any case, there is equilibrium here, and a great sense of fusion with all objects as the beloved, we might say. Maybe kind of a mystical idea there, but when we see any of the contents of consciousness, we can contemplate it. Libra, the sign of contemplation, and we can find the sameness within any object. And that sameness is felt by the rapport induced by Libra. From another perspective, it does relate to the first ray. We have kind of a Great Bear and then Aries, Libra polarity related to the first ray, and maybe then to the next petal of synthesis. But this is a very loving sign, I think, in its higher nature, and it certainly works out that way on the lower planes in terms of bringing the forms together, but it does rule the law of magnetic impulse, or the law of polar union, which brings the poles together in any human being, but also brings people together on the level of soul merging, soul fusion. So if we want to begin to realize that there is really one love operating in all the many loves, and that would be really worth meditating upon, we will find that Libra is a very useful energy to work toward that realization. When it comes to Scorpio, we have a sign which is very connected with the fourth creative hierarchy and with the Buddhic plane. The Buddhic plane expresses the sixth principle and strongly expresses the quality of love and wisdom. So it's the fourth plane with associations with the six and the two. So it is in all cases we're having the triumph over matter, which yields the synthesis of knowledge, the synthesis of love, and the synthesis of will. I'd also like to point to a particular triangle, which is that of Scorpio, Sirius, Scorpio, Mars. And this is going to be bringing in the Syrian influence, which will be strongly connected with petal number 11, which is the second of the synthesis petals. So Scorpio is capable of very, very deep love. It is a psychological sign and helps us remove the veils from exclusive love. It has a lot of this exclusivity when ruled by the sixth ray and Mars, but when ruled by Mercury, it reveals it promotes the intuition which reveals universal love. That's what DK tells us in the discussion of the intuition in the beginning of Glamour, a World Problem. Just look that up. It's a marvelous paragraph. Probably I have quoted it on numerous occasions, when dealing with the astrology book. So, there are things in the way of this broad and general love, and they are the heads of the Hydra, and in general the factor of illusion, which is lessening and lessening as we proceed on from the third initiation. So Scorpio is going to really contribute to the destruction of the veils. Saint Paul was a Scorpio. Was it his sun sign? I don't know, but it was a powerful sign in his makeup, DK tells us, and the rent that he made in the veils of Maya had to do with the realization of oneness, the realization of being. It's a rent which perhaps not too many can take advantage of at this moment. But okay, it is significant that it was bringing about a great unity. So the Syrian influence, the struggle over the vices, the raising up into the light of Buddhi, and certainly this 11th petal is connected with Buddhi. All of these can be promoted by Scorpio when in the chart of the candidate who's moving between the third and fourth initiation. A Sagittarius is one of the intuitive signs, so it has an immediate connection with Buddhi. It is a Jupiterian sign, and so, you know, the expansiveness of love and traveling far afield to find the many different units which participate with us in the larger content of consciousness. We just see how big the world is, how many horizons there may be, and our attitude towards these is that they're all part of our self. We can realize this when the intuition of Buddhi works through this particular petal number 11, with influence by Sagittarius, which increases the vision of this vast, far-flung wholeness in which horizons are ever expanding, and yet we manage to include all that we discover. Universal love is here. At least we're on our way to total Buddhic universal love. We are synthesizing in love all that we discover about the earth and about its many planes, and we have already begun to identify as this one being, so it's an ever-expanding expression of the one being with whom we have begun to identify. Sagittarius helps us reach that. Capricorn gives us entree into the secret of the soul, and it is one of those, it's a sign so closely connected with the solar angels who are underlying with their formative power, their substance, the matter of the higher mental plane, creating the egoic lotus. So the entire egoic lotus is substanded by those beings that are so connected with Capricorn. A very deep form of unitive love is seen from the higher levels of the mountaintop. Venus is prominent as the hierarchical ruler, a great planet of love and wisdom. So we're not so much dealing with the material aspect of Capricorn, but with the more redemptive, initiatory aspect of Capricorn, which is introducing us into the soul, into the secrets of the soul, and the soul is correlated with the second aspect. So, you know, Capricorn generally is said to bring in the first ray, the third ray, the seventh ray, all of those important in the initiatory process, but as the one that opens the door of initiation along the second aspect line, it is very significant for promoting this higher form of soul love. Aquarius, we have discussed its universality. It is the major sign here, I think, when we start numbering from the first petal at Aries. And this very extensive universal love of the developed Aquarian is found here as a reflection of Buddhi in the triad, and you know, somehow it's a reflection of all the higher ethers the idea that though there can be tremendous variety and many, many time cycles all operating in relation to each other, there is a flow of energy, a circulation of energy which unites all of this. And so we feel ourselves borne along the streams of Aquarian energy and flowing with it, pervading all the things that it flows through with divine love. It's almost as if we can stand here and kind of extend ourselves into everything as an Aquarian, flowing cyclically, correctly, through all contents of consciousness. It's the very substance of love that we can feel, the universality of love. When it comes to Pisces, it's another 2 and 6 sign. It is considered to be a cosmic decanate, and it's considered to be that decanate which is most connected with the second ray. It's Christ, Neptune, and Pisces. So this is the power to solve through dissolving all apparently diverse factors into the great ocean of love and wisdom. Not just love, but wisdom too, because we've been talking about the pervasive wisdom of Jupiter in relation to Pisces. And it's, love induces the willingness to sacrifice. And just think about the lower correspondence. It's the Scorpio sacrifice petal, where one learns not to ask anything in return for that which has been given. Well, Pisces goes even further, and it is the sign of the world saviors, and in the Synthesis Petal of Love, the impulse towards salvation is very strong. And, it must grow and grow in the world savior types, because they, at the fourth initiation, offer everything in the form of a sacrifice for the sake of others. So I think Pisces fits very well with an emphasis upon this central one of the petals of synthesis. It is, of course, you can have good people, bad people born in any sign, and some of the great atrocities where whole groups and genocides and things of that nature occur. People are wiped out and they meet a miserable end and all that. That can be Pisces too, especially under the influence of Pluto. But when we're talking about Neptune, it is very universal, and maybe Neptune, can be considered the highest second ray planet in our solar system because of its monadic second ray, and has a relationship to Pisces which is unique, and I think transcends the relationship of Jupiter and Pluto. So there is a great dissolving of the contents of consciousness into the sea of love. At least we're moving in that direction. It's not as complete as it will be when we are totally Buddhic after the 4th degree, when we're totally monadic at the 6th degree, when we've entered the cosmic astral plane beyond initiation 9. All of those will be intensified opportunities to demonstrate, for Pisces to demonstrate its true nature. Well, okay, I've said a few things, hopefully as seeds. Sometimes I feel, a little frustrated that it can't be clearer or more comprehensive, but one must learn to work with what one has and what one knows. So just in general, when you're looking at these signs, consider the ray passing through them, or rays, anywhere from 1 to 3 rays. Consider the relationship of the ray to the function of the petal that you are considering. Consider the planetary rulers orthodox, esoteric, and hierarchical of each one of these signs. And then I think, we're in a position to see somewhat how the energies of a particular sign and its associated rays and planets can be used to promote the unfoldment of the particular petal on which we are concentrating. In this case, it is these are the petals of synthesis, and we're dealing with the second synthesis petal, petal number 11, which, by the way, of course, is kind of interesting. It's an 11. It's the number of the initiate, and it's the number of the hierarchy of love. 11 is really a big 2 when you look at it. And the hierarchy of love is particularly ruled by Aquarius, which is the 11th sign. So much about sensitivity to the hierarchy can be expected with the unfoldment of this particular synthesis petal. Now, of course, it gets specific because we have to know the ray structure of the person who may be working in the synthesis petals and where they will particularly focus. They can't focus on all things equally, you see. But that will be taken up in the psychology of the future when we're dealing with this, psychology of probationary initiates and trying to find a way to assist them to function during this very important period. Of course, by that time we will have moved on and will be in a position to do that. Now let us look at the two luminaries and the planets. This is a petal in which the heart of the sun could play a very big role, just as it did in petal number 8, and well, we began to introduce the idea with the solar angel as the downward gazing soul in petal number 5. So the higher aspect of the sun, not the egoistic aspect, but something that melts the ahamkara away, this could be prominent here. And so if the sun is prominent for an individual at this stage of development, we could assume perhaps that the heart of the sun could be connected. Of course, sometimes the heart of the sun is indicated more by the rising sign, which indicates the heart aspect, at least according to DK and some of his writings that have been released of late on the internet. When it comes to the moon, I don't think there is very much here. The moon really is veiling Vulcan, Neptune, and Uranus. It would be the more Neptunian aspect. We're interested in transcending the form by the time we reach this synthesis petal for love and wisdom. The form is seen as an illusion. The moon, in a sense, fell in petal number 8. It's certainly falling here in this higher correspondence, petal number 11. And once we reach the point when the egoic lotus is destroyed, the moon certainly falls and the Buddhic power takes over. Vulcan would be important here, not in relation to the mineral kingdom or the will, but in relation to its deeper rays, which are, in my view, the fourth and ultimately the second. We are told that Vulcan is related to the heart of the sun and may have a relation also to the 12-petaled lotus within the head. Vulcan and the sun are one. One of my old friends used to reverse this and say, love can, Vulcan, love can. So it shows that the interior of this planetary deity may be on the soft line rays and may have something to do with the display and beauty of the radiance of love. When it comes to Mercury, the linking of the many through the intuition is important. always finding things in common between apparently different units of life. So Mercury is an intuitive planet. It's a Buddhic planet. It relates to pure reason and to the ability to see in love and wisdom the loving interconnectedness of all things. Venus has a place here because it is a planet ultimately, again, of love and wisdom. It's sixth ray monad, home of the planetary logos of the sixth ray, it says of Venus. And, of course, when you use the word home, it means monad. And then we have to go further, though, because the ultimate three monadic rays have to be 1, 2, and 3, and it's pretty clear that Venus would be correlated with the second ray. I would say that the solar angel is really bestowing its gifts here in greater fullness. Venus and the solar angel are closely connected. Before the solar angel returns to the heart of the sun at the time of the destruction of the Egoic Lotus, there must be a great pouring forth into an Egoic Lotus which is powerful enough to receive what the angel can give. And I would say that it's particularly connected with this 11th petal, conferring upon the consciousness a sense of the Buddhic synthesis. Well, Earth is not just a third-ray planet, it's also a second-ray planet. It has a second-ray soul. And let's just say that we have to make love, wisdom, practical upon this planet, and to hold all beings on the planet in the synthesis of love and wisdom. We come to realize this more and more following the Transfiguration, and as we're heading towards a degree, the fourth degree, which is ruled by the heart. Jupiter has a strong place here. It is the esoteric ruler of Aquarius, the normal ruler of Pisces, those two signs having much to do with universality and love. Jupiter is the embrace of all through the heart center. Jupiter does rule the heart center of the disciple. So there is the, we're not just talking about the king of the gods, we're talking about that great uplifting realization that all souls are one and are progressing together as one. Is Saturn found here? Well, only in the sense, I would say, that when one realizes that all loves are one love, and that all beings as souls are worthy of that love, one is inclined to discipline oneself and make the sacrifices necessary to express the wider realization in a practical manner. So Saturn, even though it's a very 1357 planet, does serve to bring the realized synthesis of love and wisdom down to Earth. And we might say the same of Earth itself. I think, I don't know whether it was a mistake, but I've left Mars out of the picture. How did I do that? Maybe just unwittingly, if I were to go back and speak of the synthesis of knowledge, I would have to say that Mars has a lot to do with the five senses and the concrete mind, and is an energy by which we, or through which we, assertively and aggressively discover what the senses reveal. And it does rule concrete science, we are told. And so all of that type of knowledge, even the most concrete knowledge, the knowledge revealed by the senses, has to be part of the synthesis of knowledge, the synthesis petal of knowledge and what it can reveal. When we come to, so that was a little bit of a recap from having left Mars out of the picture. Not very befitting a person so ruled by Aries as I am. And now I will make sure that Mars is put in here when we discuss the synthesis of will. Okay, so here we are. What about Mars in relation to this petal of love? Well, perhaps when enthusiasm and aspiration and idealism reach a sufficient height, it begins to merge into the love and the wisdom. And again, Mars can be a planet of heroic sacrifice. And so one can have the courage to live out the wider love, the wider all-embracing love that one is now experiencing. So rather than a planet of division, it becomes a planet of idealism and sacrifice and courage to live from the heart of the sun, live from the realization that the heart center confers. All right, we've done, I'm glad I noticed that. Someone would be tapping on my shoulder years later and say, well, okay, and what about Mars? When it comes to Uranus, we've talked about see, it's interesting, Mars, Saturn, and the Earth are related to a great being, a third-ray being, in whom the factor of suffering is very pronounced. So, dutiful sacrifice in Saturn, heroic, courageous sacrifice in Mars, and Earth, a great planet of sacrifice as well, because we are, I said as will, well, it does have the first ray monad. It seems to have undergone the sacrifice of accepting from the previous solar system so much of the unredeemed substance, and as a divine alchemist working through it until it is transmuted into the love, nature of the second solar system. I guess the rays of Earth are particularly suited for that transmutation, moving from the third ray correlated with the previous system to the second ray correlated with this one. And it looks like Earth will continue its sacrificial transmutative task when the residual energies of the second ray, not fully redeemed perhaps in this solar system, have to work through as vestigial in the next and final solar system, and will in fact it will in fact be a system of the first order, the first ray personality for the solar logos, therefore a first ray system. When it comes to Uranus and love, it is part of this, related to the heart, the beating of the heart. It's related to the Sirius Pisces hierarchy triangle. Well, really what we have is Sirius Pisces Uranus hierarchy, heart and solar plexus. It's a six-fold progression. And on the monadic plane and in the world of being, the ideal relationship exists. And love has much to do with bringing all things into configuration with this archetype, which holds all things in right relationship. So the sudden intrusions in our life of Uranus have a lot to do with rearranging the factors involved in our energy system and our consciousness, so they really do reflect the pure reason of the higher archetypes found on the monadic plane. So from these archetypes to pure reason to the action of Uranus to break down the conditioning of Saturn, and bring all things into rightly purposeful relationship, which is a relationship based upon love and wisdom and characterized by pure reason. When it comes to Neptune, yes, it's very definitely here. It has a lot to do with Aquarius. It's a veiled hierarchical ruler, as Vulcan and Uranus are also veiled hierarchical rulers. But Neptune represents the heart of the sun, and it represents universal love, the ongoing, outgoing love from the heart of the sun, which includes everyone and which sees the entire solar system as a group. So Neptune, the pervader, goes into all areas of the consciousness and all areas of the energy system and brings the flow, the circulation of the heart of the sun energy. It also brings the great redeeming use of energies for the welfare of all. It's like, the cup runneth over. There is a great cup, a chalice on the top of the head, and the entire egoic lotus is itself a kind of chalice, and through Neptune, the purified substance of that chalice reaches one and all and redeems one and all with the Christ force. Regarding Pluto, there are so many psychological complexes in the way of the greater love that oftentimes we have to go into therapy, our own therapy with our soul, or perhaps with some useful and knowledgeable therapist, in order to bring up the very things that are blocking us from realizing that love is not fragmented. Just like illusion has to be dispelled by realizing that fragmentation does not exist. Perceptually, we live in a world of manifold differences. But Pluto will clean the doors of perception, to use the Aldous Huxley title, will cleanse the doors of perception, so the illusion of separateness, exclusive loves, exclusive objectives, exclusive types of knowledge, all of these will be banished. And there will be a great redemption of those poisonous factors within the energy system, which basically kills consciousness through separation, through the illusion of separation. So can Pluto work here? Yes, it can clear the way for universal love. It can also cleanse the Augean stables, the cleansing of which gets ever more subtle as we ascend. That's an Aquarian task, and this is a largely Aquarian petal. So, and I've left out various planets, Chiron and the asteroids and all of that. I suppose you could figure those things out for yourself. When it comes to Chiron, of course, the master is invoked, and a great healing can occur even though there is great pain and difficult disease. Love is the great healing energy in our solar system, and Chiron has a strong second ray connected to it, as well as the sixth ray, taking us on the quest. Of course, one can amplify and say, okay, what about Vesta in relation to this petal, or Ceres, or Juno, or Pallas Athene? And we could do that. Then we can get on to the other 10,000 asteroids, and but that would be a multiplication and ramification, which would be both impossibly time-consuming and unwarranted. When it comes to the rays, this is a petal which is largely concerned with the second ray, and yet it requires that love be expressed in wisdom, and that somehow we learn to blend will and love in order rightly to reach the many, the largest group, with love. It's possible to love and not be wise, and the first ray from Shambhala reinforces the wisdom aspect. When it comes to the second ray, there's just no question about it. Higher and higher expressions of the second ray are found in the synthesis petals, and basically they are Buddhic petals. And the Buddhic energy is basically that of the second ray of love and wisdom. So our embrace in love of many beings and many presentations to consciousness comes under the second ray, under Jupiter, under Venus, under Neptune, having the second ray in different aspects of its energy system. This is not a ray 3 petal per se, but the whole blending of love and intelligence in the name of wisdom is a very important idea. So we are reaching out, accumulating, touching many, many things via the third ray, seeing their interrelationship and realizing that somehow, although they are rationally related, they are also, even more importantly, related through the unitive power of love. So there's when you have a strong third ray, one may have the tendency to work more in the first of the synthesis petals, but let's just say that ray 3 deals with the accumulation of all that is to be widely and wisely loved. And there's a lot of philanthropy that can come in here when you begin to feel this universal love and compassion for all beings, and especially the human beings needed at this time. Then we have the blending of the second and third ray, producing the love of humanity called philanthropy. Anthropy, the man, humanity, and love. When it comes to the fourth ray, the fourth and the second are so connected, and the fourth, one of its paths of resolution is on to the second ray, and the ability to look out and see the wide love and attempting to bring harmony between those who are embraced in this wider love, and attempting to reduce the divisive frictions. You see, later in the expression of ray 4, the frictional aspect is overcome, and we are left with a great loving harmony, which is directly connected with the Buddhic plane, the fourth plane, and actually it's the fourth sub-level of the Buddhic plane, is that level given to the factor of intuition. Ray 5 and Ray 2 are very connected via Venus and via the solar angels, and this is what we call the blending of love and mind, truly intelligent love, thinking in the heart and loving with the mind. And we can find reasons to do that for so many different kinds of people, because we're no longer concerned just with our likes and our dislikes. We see into the quality of the person. We see their light. We can analyze carefully who they are and find them all worthy of love. When we look in Esoteric Psychology 1, all about the cloud on the mountaintops, and I just have to read the last line of a couple of lines of this Ray 5 stanza to show you how closely it is related to Ray 2. let's see, I think I went a little far. That's negative desire. Okay, here it is. We're getting into the fifth purpose of deity. Beautiful stuff. And let's see, here it is. That which is on its way comes as a cloud which veils the sun. And here's the way the fifth and second ray blend. But hid behind this cloud of immanence is love, and on the earth is love, and in the heaven is love. And this, the love which maketh all things new, must stand revealed in the light. You see, there's the fifth ray. This is the purpose back of all the acts of this great Lord of knowledge. What a fantastic blending of the second and fifth rays, and that's exactly where we are when we're dealing with this petal which gives us the light of love in a synthetic manner. Remember Aquarius at the moment, which is the major petal we're going to associate with this major sign associated with this petal. It transmits ray 5 constellationally. And if we were to, look at Taurus here in its great wisdom, we would say, the wisdom to be loving and the highest light as it reveals the love. Now, ray 6 is definitely related to the second ray, to Neptune, also to the heart of the sun, and to the transmutation of desire into love. And there is a great desire here, and it is to be in loving relationship with all factors within the contents of consciousness. Sometimes we just notice these contents of consciousness, but our relationship to them is not especially loving. But ray 6, although sometimes exclusive, also has the transcendent aspect to it, and rises into a type of idealism which is basically the motivating factor that sent the monads forth and sent the solar angels forth. Lords of, how does it say, persistent devotion. I'm leaving out a word. It's lords of persistent devotion. I always know that one, but somehow I'm leaving it out. And lords. Oh, I better do that. Lords. Devotion. Oh, I can't do that. Here it is, because I'm in esoteric something and I can't be there. Lords, persistent, loving devotion, persistent, lords. Let's see what we have. No, the one-pointed will of God, Lord, devotion, persistent, and maybe we'll have it here. Well, that's what it is. Lords of sacrifice and loving, persistent devotion. Okay. And is there anything else here? Ceaseless, a Lord of persevering and ceaseless devotion. We become that more and more as we gear up for the fourth initiation, in which the heart center becomes so important. The crucifixion of the heart, it's a fourfold organ in a way, related to the fourth initiation. We are opening our heart to all beings, and we realize ourselves more and more as a Lord of persevering and ceaseless devotion, or persistent and ceaseless devotion. So that would be the very compatible sixth ray, a great idealism. Learning the sixth ray type learns the invocation of the Savior on top of the blue mountain. So we learn in the law of repulse. And here the idealism is for this universal love. With ray 7, well, love is pure reason. Love is the organization of the archetype. The archetype has a perfect relation of all factors. It's found in the world of being, which is counting from the first hierarchy on down. It's the 7th hierarchy of those beings which embrace the human monads. What are they called? Divine builders. So this 7th ray, when true love organizes all or pervades all things, an automatic type of divine organization occurs, and all things are brought into right relations according to pure reason and reflecting the great archetypes found on the monadic plane, the world of being, and even beyond, as there are still higher archetypes, maybe 3 of them instead of 7, which are found in the sea of fire, the Egoic world. Well, these are just seeds, and I'm sure many things have been left out, but we've taken a look at the 7 rays, the 2 luminaries and the remaining planets, so 12 in all, and then the 12 signs of the zodiac in relation to this synthesis of love, which must begin to occur as we move rapidly towards the fourth initiation. If I love one thing or one person, why should I not in soul and spirit love another? It's not a question of what appeals to me. It's a question of the union of souls and the realized identicality of spirit. This is what is understood in this petal, where a much wider and embracing and whole-making synthesis of love is realized. Well, you can ask yourself, who in the world do I love and why? Well, oftentimes it may be because of our preferences, because of our commonalities and so forth, and not necessarily because we see these people or see these things in this ongoingly pervasive light of love. Actually, interestingly enough, the second mantram for Taurus on page 332 of Esoteric Astrology says the light of love. In other words, there's the light of self or of earth, there's the light of love, and then there's the light of life. These 3 represent the Taurian type of light. And of course the higher types of light, as given in esoteric astrology, would be reaching some degree of fruition here. Maybe we can't bring in the entire teaching, but we have to know what our next step may be as we are functioning in this world of apparent multiplicity and trying to accomplish certain tasks which will lead naturally to that unfoldment which for us is impending. So, maybe it's a little easier along the 3rd aspect line to know what is the synthesis of knowledge. We're used to that in our universities, and we talk about people who are polymaths and who somehow manage to accumulate a vast store of knowledge. I once saw a very funny, was it an interview or was it an interview or was it a live interview? I can't remember, but the guest was this polymath, this man who was multiply accomplished and his knowledge was vast, and the interviewer was obviously someone who deeply respected him and at the same time sought to demonstrate that he was somewhat the equal of the polymath being interviewed. So it made for an interesting psychological situation, as there was kind of vying going on between the interviewee and the interviewer. Well, it may be, a little easier for man who lives on this planet with its still very strong third-rate personality to think in terms of the synthesis of knowledge. Oh, that person knows a lot. Oh, that person's a know-it-all. Oh, what an incredible fund of knowledge. That person is encyclopedic in their knowledge, and so forth. But who do we find that is all-embracing in their love, and loves equally, whether there is like or dislike involved? Love when there is like, love when there is dislike. It's as if this glamour of sentiment involving like and dislike does not have any effect upon the persistent love of each and all within the whole, which is also loved. And of course this can only intensify as we move on into pure buddhi and monadic realization, and eventually in distant days as a very high initiate onto the cosmic astral plane. So, just ponder, as I will, on the synthesis of love and see whether it is possible to so live in these lower worlds that all-embracing love is ever present, ever persistent. Sometimes I think I'm better at, the realizing the synthesis of being. The idea of the isness of all things regardless of what they are. But that's, in a way, even one step further than the synthesis of will. Will, love, and intelligence still remain knocking at the door which leads to the very center of the temple of being. Being is more than will, it's more than love, it is more than knowledge and intelligence. So look, friends, I think regardless of how long this has taken, it will be somewhat irregular, I guess. This is going to be the end of Egoic Lotus Webinar Commentary, Program 62, and we're talking about the Synthesis Petal of Love, Petal 11. And we will here have approximately 1 hour and 25 minutes, and we will begin, and this will be our last of the discussion of the synthesis petals, except when we find these charted compilations, which may give a sort of a bird's eye view of everything. We'll take that up next. So this is the beginning of Egoic Lotus Webinar Commentary. Oh, how about that? I'm not having too much success there. BGN. Oh. It's my computer's acting up. There's too much happening. So I'll just... Beginning of Egoic Lotus Webinar Commentary program. It's always going to start jumping around now. I have to shut off the entire computer to make it stop that. And this is the Synthesis Petal, what's it going to be, of Will, and that will be Petal 12. We have to be very careful, otherwise the cursor will jump. So maybe we will again end with the great invocation, coming a little closer to the hour and a half mark. And And especially, this is the invocation for power and light, and yet it is the great invocation to bring about the more rapid reappearance of the Christ, who will reappear when humanity as a whole, whatever that means exactly, has taken the first initiation. So obviously it's a great invocation for the solidarity in loving unity of humanity. So, well, I guess, I don't feel too bad about using the great invocation. I don't use it after every program, but after these programs on the Petals of Synthesis, I feel somehow very justified. And again, I must say that with respect to the way of the Buddha is being trodden here, with respect to the Beatitudes, we're even closer to realizing their truth than we were with petal number 10. All of these factors of fusion, the inclusive reason of fusion is a high meditative method which is bringing us closer to complete soul infusion, which I think is really completed at the 4th degree, although such a significant amount of it is completed at the 3rd degree. Well, as I suggested, we've got 80 points that we've been looking at in relation to petal 1 through 9, and you have those points, so maybe you would kind of look through them and see which may apply. All right. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men. The purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Well, friends, I think we should pursue synthesis, especially, if we're hovering around the period of the second initiation. Something about Sanat Kumara and the will and synthesis can begin to come meaningfully into our consciousness. And these are times when the Antakarana is proposed and evolution can become very rapid. And we are reaching out into the curriculum of the will, even as we are continuing to pursue the curriculum of love. So from that perspective, what is said here about synthesis, while it has its main application following the third initiation and on to the fourth, it can already begin to invite us towards a wider, unitive, and even identical field, which includes all the diverse perceptions. Okay, I'll send this out to you, and we will be in touch soon to take up this last synthesis of will. Well, if we try to understand something of the great love, which is all the loves, what of the great will, which is really all the wills? Let us see. See you before long. Bye-bye.